Americans of Reddit, what is your opinion on switching to the metric system? A 12 centimeters long penis sounds much more impressive. I'm in. If that means rounding up a 32 ounces beer to 1 liter, then yes please. As long as we can add ductin as a unit. The US tried to convert back in the 70s. But everyone bitched about it. I'm all in for switching. It would be really nice to go to literally any other country and understand size and speed. Edit, thanks for my first silver stranger. And yes, I personally can do the conversions and understand it's not that difficult, but lots of Americans can't be bothered. Metric system is miles ahead. My persuasive speech in high school speech class was about why we should convert. This was 20 years ago. I got a good grade, but people love multiplying and dividing by 25.4 apparently. Edit, I program CNC for medical device components. Well over half the drawings I see are metric, machines are programmed in imperial. Many conversions back and forth between inches and millimeters. It's so freaking annoying. Americans will never accept a foreign ruler. Edit, thank you all for the upvotes and accolades. I'm fine with it, but a larger priority is getting rid of that damn daylight savings time. The metric system is the official measurement system of the US. It has been since the early 1980s. However, it wasn't actually put into practice because we've already been using the imperial system for so long that changing everything over would cause trouble to the infrastructure. Like someone else already said, it's the equivalent of forcing a new language onto society because it's now the official language of this country. I would ducking love to do that. It is a lot easier to work with. As far as the country as a whole switching, I would be fine with the UK method of using both imperial and metric to save on having to entirely revamping everything. The metric system is the tool of the devil. My car gets 40 rods to the hogshead and that's the way I likes it. What difference does it make when Big Tape Measure is lobbying with tens of dollars to keep inches so they don't have to paint more lines? Not moving an inch. Bald eagle screech. I think the world needs to move to base 12. Problem solved. Reports say a man in CA was mugged, and they beat him within millimeters of his life. The people who need to use it, the academic community, already do. But the imperial system is so deeply ingrained in American culture I can't ever see it going away. If there was a real, concerted effort by the government and several private enterprises, the NFL, car manufacturers, construction companies and suppliers, then maybe. But it would cost billions of dollars and there is little financial incentive to do so. Even if there were gains to be made in the long run, corporations only seem to look a quarter or two ahead in the long run. Miles Davis sounds way better than Kilometers Davis. What a lot of people don't realize is that if you work for the federal government or a multinational corporation, everything is already metric and then converted back for us imperial idiots. Most companies, if they do any kind of production or sales outside of the US, are converted as well. Google USA metrication and you might be surprised how much of America is already essentially on the metric system. And drugs, for crying out loud, you buy kilograms of cocaine. Doesn't really make any difference to most of us, but it's pretty low on the list of things we need to fix here. My opinion is duck that. The whole world should change to our arbitrary, hopelessly outdated system. Just do it already. If measurements are consistent across the whole Earth, then it's easier for everyone and it's one more thing we have in common. As long as we can keep Fahrenheit. I just wish every country would switch to military time. It makes more sense. I'm all for switching to kg, km, liters, etc. However, Fahrenheit is the superior temperature measurement system for the weather, and I will die on that hill. It would make way more sense because it's all based off of the tens rather than that 16 ounces is a pound, 2 cups a pint, 2 pints a quart, then all of a sudden 4, not 2 quarts, are a gallon. In metric you have grams, liters, and meters. And the prefixes are pretty straightforward, as kilo is always 1000 base units, tera is 1 trillion, micro is 1 by 10^6, etc. The only measurement I like imperial more for is height. Like there's a distinct cutoff at 6, you know someone is tall or not. As a junior in a mechanical engineering program, I would be ecstatic. At least once a week around the shop, can we just switch to the ducking metric system already? I like our temp scale though, funky as it is. I like the idea. Multiples of 10 instead of 12 into a foot, 3 feet to a yard, 5,280 feet to a mile, etc. It would be nice. How'd you build a house? Like what's a metric 2x4? What's the metric height of a room? 8 feet or 9 feet is standard in the US. What's the stud spacing? 16 on center is standard in the US. As a chemist, absolutely. I know it better than the imperial system tbh, and the change would make teaching chemistry easier. It's a communist plot, but in all seriousness I think America should switch. It is so much simpler to use. Yes, it would make science classes so much easier for students. I don't think we can just switch to the metric system realistically because so much of our stuff is in US whatever we call it. Football fields are 100 yards and changing all of those would just be pointless, plus it would confuse so many people including myself. That's just one example, there are many other ones where it just becomes why bother. Also, it's not like we don't know the metric system, we basically have double the terms and possible sizes to describe something. For example, if something is a little bigger than a centimeter then it's probably around an inch. I'm not opposed to it and I'm pretty sure there were efforts to do so, but they weren't enforced, so nothing was really made of it. However, I just don't see a reason to spend all this money to change everything into the metric system when it's really not that big of an inconvenience. Now if this change would include changing to Celsius then you can write off cause that is whack. Takes a rocket science to understand that stuff. 0 is very cold, 100 is very hot. #X200B. A question for those metric system users: do you actually say decimeter and we just use inch instead, or is decimeter just a forgotten word among everyone? A decimeter could be the size of a foot, all I know, I really have no idea. #X200B, edit. I also don't think everyone in the US could just forget about what we use. People will naturally use terms for the rest of their lives. Everywhere else uses the metric system, but America has to be different and backwards, so yes, we should be using it. I think why the hell not? The only problem would be logistics and the cost of changing roadway signs, and GPS programming, etc. Let's do it. Please do. Just do it already. It's going to suck more and more the longer you wait. If we'd done everything Jimmy Carter said 40 years ago, the world would be a better place and the US would have the metric system. I work in healthcare, we use it anyway. Bring it on. Technically, the US already uses the metric system when it comes to weight. Though we list things as pounds and ounces, they're based off the standard kilogram. There's just some conversion there. In regards to temperature, sadly, while the Celsius system is a touch easier, it's not as precise as the Fahrenheit system. People make a way bigger stink about metric versus imperial than they should. I'm an engineering student. I do metric all day long. It's really nice when you're doing complicated conversions. But imperial is fine for knowing how far it is to the grocery store, and how much water to put in your soup, and how much your dog weighs. What else does anyone use it for really? 5,280 feet in a mile 32 waters freezing point 212 waters boiling point, whereas for metric 1,000 meters in a kilometer 0 waters freezing point 100 waters boiling point. Yeah, I'll take it any day. Gonna get some getting used to, but it'll be worth it in the end when I go on vacation to another country. Please. Dude, I'm so game. I've been wanting this since I learned it in high school. It just makes so much more sense to me than the imperial system.